A very good morning to everyone, and welcome to the Work Together Anywhere series of our webinars. Today, we are going to be looking at building business resilience and intelligent document management strategies. So I hope you're all settled with a cup of tea or coffee, settled down to hopefully we'll try and provide some level of entertainment today. My name is John Chambers. I'm the Director for IT, Communication and Business Process Services here at Ricoh, and look forward to being a host today. We've got some fantastic guests and panelists with them. So I think some of you may have joined us before, but this is part of our practical webinar series where we hope to give you some insights and some tools to navigate some of the challenges that we faced, and some of the really give you some notes and some insight into helping you to look at moving forward into 2021. The panel today, hopefully we'll share, got one of our customers on, which is fantastic, with Andrew Jackson, and we'll do the intros shortly. We'll share some of the industry insights and look at best practice around the impact on remote working, and especially around, that looking at digitalization and moving away from paper-based processes and how you can really gain some benefits around document management. So on the right, we really want to get lots of questions, so please submit those. We'll have a Q&A at the end. Look at how you can download the resources that we've got to support you, and please get in touch. So contact us afterwards, contact your account manager, or there's some details on how to come through so we can give you any help or assistance that we can. So to find out more about what we're going to talk about, we've got quite a few pieces of research, the conscious workplace, which is out there, which you can look at in terms of our view on workplace in the future. Looking at the ebooks, looking at some of our thought leadership pieces that can help you look at some of the challenges, give you some ideas and some thoughts around use of technology, but also taking into account how you can really work with your people to create the environment that you need for the future of your business. So we've got quite a few other webinars as well, so please look out for those. But and as I say before, please get in touch with us if there's anything that you want to follow up from today's session. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to look at the challenges of paper-based processes and remote working, the cost around some of those processes, some of the reasons why professional document management systems are of benefit to you and your organization. Look at how we can support IT, legal, HR, finance and sales, across those functions to support your organizations in different parts of your business. Look at the benefits of securely having a digital archiving system, what that might mean for you, and how secure digital archiving works. And at the end, we'll have a full Q&A where we can, again, encourage you to really give us the questions so that we can help you with any specific answers that we can provide that can help you. So I think we've all over the last year, it's been, as we all know, a very different year than probably we thought when we started out in back in the beginning of 2020. I think we were in a reacting mode where we were looking at enabling remote working, looking at setting up to be able to work from home, creating some of those safe working practices and supporting the people and really acquiring the tools that could help to empower our teams. Probably also looking at some of the processes that were impacted by a move to hybrid or very much remote working at the time. I think coming through the year into July, we were looking at business continuity, looking at how maybe we were partially phasing a return to our offices, looking at how we could cope with the social distancing and maybe staggered working hours, and looking at how we can improve the remote working solutions that we had in place for our users and employees, and starting to think about maybe how we can really enhance some of the systems and applications through the use of infrastructure and cloud services. Moving forward to 2021, really looking at how we could, where we are now, the thoughts of the return to work and the ability to probably a combination of some form of hybrid working, where we're looking at working at home, returning to office in some shape or form, be able to plan for that around the processes, around the technology, and looking at how we can create that flexible, adaptable environment around our people, the workplace, the processes and the technology. And I think hopefully today we can, really share some of the things that maybe can help you when you're looking at enabling some of those things for the people within your organization. So that's what we're going to cover today. So we're going to now do a bit of an introduction of the panel. I'm very glad to have these three people with us today. I'm going to hand over to Ed MacArthur, who's going to introduce the panel and take us through the rest of the session. Thanks, Ed.
Wonderful.
Good morning.
Thanks a lot, John. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Ed MacArthur, and I work for Ricoh Europe alongside the UK team focused on Ricoh's content management platform, which is DocuWare. With me today is my colleague Keith Tabor. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning.
And we're also very lucky to have one of our customers on here today, which is Andrew Jackson of Allen London. I'll introduce him properly later, but good morning and thank you for joining us, Andrew.
Good morning, no problem.
So today we're going to discuss why document management is important, where it fits in our businesses right now, and hopefully give you some ideas of where it could be of assistance to you. Then Andrew is going to talk a little bit about the challenges faced at Allen London and how Andrew used DocuWare to meet them before showing us a live demo of his system. If you have any questions, as we mentioned earlier, please pop them in the chat box and we'll go through them at the end, or speak with your account manager and we can set up a longer conversation. So where are we now? Well, we all hope this endless cycle of lockdowns will be over, but it looks like continuing to at least the summer. No one knows when the old normal will come back or even if it will. Employees working from home, at least some of the time, is likely to be the primary business model going forward. This is not just due to COVID, which has obviously accelerated the trend, but due to skyrocketing commercial real estate prices in cities, improved technology, and a desire for a better work-home balance. The problem is the speed of change, which has meant that we've put huge strain on existing IT and processes, but still businesses need to function. These new realities lead us to all having to ask ourselves a new set of questions about our processes. So here we have, next slide please, Bobby. So here we have some common questions on here. Keith, how do you think process automation can help answer some of these?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. We have to remember that documents coming into and created within the organisations, in our organisations, sorry, are assets. They're valuable, and with the changes that we've recently faced in businesses today, that we're all facing, the importance of the information has really been highlighted, and the frustrations of not getting to the information that you need when you need it has been heightened. So, we get a lot of questions, as you mentioned, from our customers, and some of those is around speed. So, you have to connect to the VPN, and this makes interacting with our documents or our information a bit slow. So we see that one coming up quite a lot, actually, especially with the remote workers. And next to that, we see a lot of questions around security. How can I make sure that the information that we're sharing across our teams is secure, is compliant? So this is really where we're seeing some key changes, and I think it's this physical to digital journey that we're seeing more and more organisations want to start going down. I mean, one really common area is around receiving physical mail, and how do I get that out to my teams? So we've got lots of questions. I'm sure many people on the call today have the same questions, and I hope over the next sort of 30 minutes we'll be able to answer many of those. But I think, Ed, what other research have we seen on the changes and where that's going?
Sure, yeah. So Ricoh has actually did some research at the end of the last lockdown, just asking some companies about how it affected them and return to work and things like that. So we've researched how the evolving world of work has forced businesses to address digital transformation, looking at re-engineering workplaces, both virtually and physically, developing new processes to support this, and how all this combined has influenced and resulted in new workplace behaviours. Here I've picked out a couple of responses. We can see that the vast majority of managers, 84%, and employees, around about 3/4, expressed concerns over the safety of the workplace when asked to return to work for quite obvious reasons. We can also see that over 3/4 of the managers surveyed are worried over internal processes, with about 60% of employees share that concern. The survey also revealed around about 2/3 of managers are struggling with their employee processes due to a dispersed workforce. So in conclusion from this research, we can reach this conclusion that people are not comfortable returning to the office and processes must adapt. Now, Andrew, you're working in an industry and in a company that has actually taken a lot of this on board already. So how does these statistics reflect your experiences during the last year?
Thank you, Ed. So I think as a business, we've been very technology focused for the last 10 years. And admittedly, when the COVID pandemic hit, we were quite lucky. We were already experimenting with people working from home. We had a lot of sales staff out on the road, for example. We're an insurance broking business, so we have a lot of sales staff visiting customers. And I've got to admit, in particular with DocuWare, because it is a web-based system, it's accessible from anywhere, it's secure. It was very easy for us to transition to everybody working at home very, very quickly. And yeah, DocuWare did play a big part in that. So yeah, in terms of manager concerns that you highlight there, we don't really relate to them, but we totally support the notion going forward that actually, yeah, I think a lot of our staff will be working from home a lot more in the future now. I don't think we can go back to where we were.
Brilliant, thanks, Andrew. So that's the situation that we're finding ourselves in today. Keith, could you help to explain how document management and a document management strategy can assist companies to meet some of these challenges?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ed. So yeah, let's look at that and explore that a little bit more, and why you'd need to, even think about document management or content management in a broader sense. So going back to what I said previously, I think we have to start to really think about our documents, files, paper as important company assets, and we have to start there. And that losing these assets have a massive impact across the business. To our clients, to our suppliers, the impact can be large. And with that in mind, what's quite worrying is that 21% of files are not protected. And when you consider that, according to Ponemon Institute, downtime cost businesses around £7,000, I think $9,000 per minute. So there's some huge, it's a huge impact both financially and in providing a service. When you have this this loss of information. And I think another interesting statistic is that 96% of businesses with a document management strategy as part of their backup and disaster recovery plan fully recovered operations a lot quicker than without. So it forms a really fundamental part of the overall security strategy of the organization. So why does this happen? Well, it happens because when considering documents, at least, there's not enough data redundancy, or there's poor document security, maybe outdated storage or data centers, and natural disasters, fire, flood, that kind of thing. And this is very much where we see document management strategies start to come into play. So if we take that further and see how we can respond to that with the digital archive. So as the data is stored in documents, and as we said, it's valuable information, we have to start thinking about protecting this information better, and that's very much where a digital archive comes into play. And you have to have a platform that's easy to delete data or store data. For things like GDPR, the right to be forgotten. We have to be able to find that sort of information. We can't let people access the information that shouldn't. So security is really key. And when you've got paper laying around, you don't have that security. Taking a cloud-first approach really does help. When you look at mitigating hardware failures, not being able to access a shared drive somewhere, and that kind of thing. So we're bringing that together, and really documents stored in multiple formats, particularly around paper, there's a really high chance of complete data loss if the worst is to happen. So like I mentioned, fire, floods, and even getting eaten by pests, rats, mice, that kind of thing. You know, I've really heard it all. And once that paper is gone, it's gone. There's no getting that back. So this starts to bring us on to you know, some of the reasons why you'd look at document management in a more general sense. So when thinking about the way that we need to work, it's easy to start to highlight some of the reasons why focusing on document management is more important than ever. With DocuWare, you have the option to benefit from cloud storage. So this ensures that you have the information with the very best security, you know, in Azure or others, I guess. And it's fast to access this information. So it doesn't matter what your broadband capability is from your own data centers or your own server rooms. You can have the highest access speeds possible, and you don't have the additional burden of servers that IT need to manage and procure and look after. So this is where a lot of our clients are moving to a cloud-first strategy, especially in the new working environment that we see. Because we talk a lot more about the cloud and accessing data from anywhere, this approach really supports that. So getting paper, you have to go to an office, you have to go to a location. When we move from the physical to the digital, it means that we can access that information from anywhere. We can access that information from other applications as well with just a few clicks of a mouse. So it's really easy to get to the information that you want, you know, even if it's on a tablet while you're homeschooling your children. Security and compliance, you know, I see that coming together. You know, once you've got your documents in a digital format, you can apply security around that. Who accesses it? How they access it? Who's seen it? What have they done with it? You know, this is all part of that story. And moving towards, you know, the more and more compliance, you know, like with GDPR, the risk of not being compliant, not being auditable is extremely high and extremely expensive if you get it wrong. And also moving towards the removal of human error, there's many tools around document management that enables you to capture that key data from those documents, to store it effectively, and also use other tools to enrich the data that you're capturing, so that you've got some really good insights into the data that you've got. And it doesn't mean that people have to key that information. We can use the assets that we've already got. So so that's for me. Ed, I think I'd like to pass over to you and introduce Andrew.
Excellent. So yeah, thanks, Keith. So we've all heard from Andrew already a little bit, but let me just take the opportunity to introduce him properly and the company he works for. So Blunden Insurance Brokers are a local insurance broker providing a range of affordable products to meet a variety of insurance needs. They're based in Southend, and ABIB tailor for personal insurances, including motor, household and travel insurance, but also provide comprehensive service for a range of commercial clients. Andrew is the IT manager at Blunden and a bit of a champion for DocuWare within the company. So first of all, Andrew, thanks again for agreeing to share some insights with us.
No problem.
Shall we start with asking, what were the challenges within Blunden that DocuWare helped you with?
So yeah, thank you. So yeah, my name's Andrew Jackson. I've been working for Blunden as IT manager for nearly 15 years now. So I've been there a very, very long time. Around 5 or 6 years ago, we had a desktop-based aging document management system, and it wasn't being developed anymore. It was called InView. Back in 2015, we went out into the market with a tender for a document management system. One of our core beliefs was that we wanted a system that was accessible from anywhere over a web browser or from a mobile device. Obviously, we engaged with Rico. We did a big specification on what we wanted, and Rico suggested DocuWare as the solution. Rico assisted us in implementing DocuWare, and we implemented it in Azure Cloud from day one. So it was a cloud-hosted system from day one, which for us already brought lots of benefits. We didn't have to run any data center servers. We immediately got cross-region backup, and we got a lot of the sort of low cost of ownership and security benefits of running a system in the cloud, like many others. The second big challenge that we had was we had to migrate at the time around 4 million customer insurance documents from our legacy system into DocuWare. And thankfully the Rico technical team were able to actually come up with solutions to allow us to do that quite quickly. So to get onto the new system was, it was quite painless, actually. It went very, very well. Yeah, hopefully that answers your initial question at least.
Oh, definitely, thank you very much for that. So you mentioned some of the benefits in there about the DocuWare bring, but how else do you think the solutions benefited Adam Blunden over the years?
Oh, yeah, several fold. I mean, as an insurance brokers, we currently, I mean, we create around 6,000 customer documents a day now, which are all stored in DocuWare. And every person in the business who needs access to those documents can retrieve them very, very quickly. That's particularly important in our customer service teams. Obviously, we've got call centres, we've got people that are ringing in to renew insurance renewals or to take out new business quotes, and we need our customer service operatives to be able to actually view the history of that customer, their insurance schedules, the statement of facts quickly. And because we're able to operate DocuWare in the cloud, and the fact it's very, very quick, it means we're able to serve our customers. As soon as you ring in, they put a customer number into DocuWare, and immediately that entire customer's history, their email inquiries, the documents that we've sent them, any post correspondence they've sent us, it's all just there in a nice, easy to view format.
Wonderful. So it's really the benefits of speed, accuracy, and being able to find everything in the right place, and probably on the back end of that auditability and compliance areas. Fantastic. Thanks, Andrew. So obviously you've been working specifically in the sort of financial services insurance sector, but can you see how this could transfer to other organisations and other sectors out there?
Yeah, absolutely. DocuWare is very configurable. I'm going to do a short demo in a few moments, but in terms of configuring DocuWare, you can build the storage cabinets that you're going to see in a moment exactly tailored to your industry. So you'll see in a moment a lot of the storage cabinets we built include customer number, customer name, policy number, insurer, product name. Those are some of the things we need to store our documents, that metadata, so we can retrieve it. But because you can design a cabinet with any number of fields, yeah, it really does apply to anything from sales to finance to HR or any other line of business or application that you might need to work with.
Oh, fantastic. So thanks for those insights, Andrew. Hopefully some of our audience can see parallels within their own organisations. Now, you've very kindly agreed to show us a little bit of how you use DocuWare within the environment. Your live demos are always scary, so good luck. But thank you very much. I'll hand over to yourself.
No problem. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I've agreed to do a very short 4 or 5 minute demo of our DocuWare test installation. Obviously for GDPR reasons, I can't show you a production system, but Rico have actually helped us create a test copy of DocuWare that we use for development and testing purposes within our organisation. For me, DocuWare has kind of three main components. I mean, firstly, you can see I'm just using a web browser to access DocuWare, which effectively means it can be accessed from anywhere. We've got it configured so you can log in with our staff Active Directory credentials as well. So we don't need our staff to maintain different usernames and passwords and things like that. And that makes administering the system a lot easier for us. But yeah, three key areas within DocuWare. So firstly, you have what are called document in trays. And this is really the landing pad for all of your documents coming into the system. And these can come from anywhere. These can come from MFPs and scanners that you might have in the office. You're able to simply import any type of document directly from your desktop, whether it be a PDF, Excel, Word, text file, HTML file. DocuWare can handle all of those different file types. And at this point, this landing area, you've got a lot of documents there, but they've got no metadata attached. But this is the starting point for getting documents into the system. The second part of DocuWare is the search function. So DocuWare allows you to build customized cabinets with the metadata that you need to capture to allow that document to be retrievable. If I go back to the document trays, if I choose to index this document into a cabinet, you can see here we've got some cabinets called policies, so insurance policies for us, a sales department cabinet, and in our production system we have a number of finance cabinets for processing things like invoices as well. And if I click on one of these storage dialogues, you can see here the user's being asked to capture any number of metadata information, so somebody else can locate that document later. Particularly for us, policy reference and the customer name are obviously going to be very, very important for us. Obviously, it'd be a little bit cumbersome for a member of staff to have to type out all of these fields, you know, day in, day out. That'd take a long, long time. But DocuWare does come with a number of custom integrations. One of them we use is a screen scraper. It's called Smart Index, and if I click on Smart Index here, you saw it basically read a small screen scrape for one of our back office CRM applications, and it's captured that that test data there, so the policy reference, client name, etc., and it's automatically filled in all the fields that we need to be filled in. For me, the last thing I would need to do here is then just set what type of document this is. Obviously, the system can't really tell what document this might be. For a piece of customer post, it might be a request to renew an insurance policy, it might be a request to cancel a policy, for example. And I'm going to mark that one as an insurance claims information document, just to give an example. So with our documents now nicely stored, that makes it very, very easy for anybody within the business immediately to look up that document. I'm just going to use this example customer reference number, and if I paste that in there, it's already cleverly given me like a suggestion of the policy number it thinks I'm after. So it's quite intuitive that way. The fields make suggestions on search terms, and if I search that, you can see almost instantly I've now got all of the documents associated with that customer number, including the one that I just stored a moment ago. If I double click on that, then I can see that document on the right hand side, and again, this is all being done in a web browser. There's no having to open Word or any other kind of application. You could be accessing this on an iPad, for example, and you'd be seeing the exact same thing. And there's quite a number of things I can do with that document. I can download it, print it, email it. There's quite a nice number of viewer tools in here, so if that text is a bit hard to read, I might decide to sort of zoom in on an area, look at the document. You can rotate it. It's quite a nice feature in here as well that you can annotate documents and put notes on them, which is quite handy as well. So you might want to annotate a document, and then when somebody else views it, they'll actually see that note attached to that document as an overlay. But the real power for DocuWare for us, and the real decider on purchasing the product really, was what's called the workflow engine. So as an insurance business, we've got all sorts of insurance documentation coming into this system that needs storing. We've got customer documents, insurance schedules, etc., that are being produced by our back office, other applications, line of business applications. We've got customer posts coming in. We still even have a fax machine, believe it or not, because it's some very old school insurance brokers still like their fax machines. We have emails coming in from customers. You can imagine we get hundreds a day. And a lot of that documentation, post and email inquiries, it needs something to be done on it. So again, taking the example of renewing an insurance policy, the workflow engine gives you the ability to start a workflow and create a list of tasks to be done based on that document. So the document that I've just stored there a moment ago with claims information, that has now appeared under the tasks tab. It's assigned to me and anybody else within my team as well, not just to me personally, but take the example, if I'm working in the customer service team, that task will now be assigned to that customer service team, and they can actually click into here, view that document. I'm using a test document right now, but to take the example, this might be a piece of post where somebody's written in and says, I wish to renew my property insurance policy with you, and we've now got a list of work to go through. And we've designed that workflow with 3 functions here. We can assign that and email that to somebody else to look at. We can change the document type, or most importantly, somebody in the customer service team would go back onto our back office system, process that insurance renewal, and then they'd actually mark that complete. The big benefits of that for us is all of our customer service teams and our management team have got one pane of glass to see all of our inquiries that are coming in from across the business. And it doesn't matter whether that's from email or from post, like I say, a fax machine or wherever that request has come from, it's all being fed into a number of workflows. Very briefly, if I look on our production system here, you can see, I mean, each one of these bars has got a little green mark next to it and a number. That gives you an idea of the volume of inquiries that we're handling through DocuWare. And because DocuWare is being run in the cloud, it's very, very fast. You know, we're able to handle very, very large volumes of documents that need to be processed for our customers. And we're also actually able to get reports out of this as well, that actually show us, you know, if a team's struggling, maybe it's understaffed, maybe some of the numbers here are getting a bit high, then a manager can take action. If we're currently unable to process all those inquiries into a particular team, we've got very quick visibility here as to exactly what's happening in every department. The very final part I wanted to touch on, it's been key for our business. I'm showing you here the DocuWare interface itself, and the fact that I can store documents from my desktop and I can scan in post, etc. But DocuWare comes with a very extensive built-in .NET API. So we actually have a lot of our broker platforms that we have are actually sending electronic documents directly into DocuWare using those APIs. So our broker inquiry forms, for example, they're on our portal, they're branded as us, and if that broker submits a request to change a policy, it's actually being electronically fed into DocuWare and into those workflows behind the scenes. So we're not having to give our brokers a login to DocuWare, but they can actually use our branded portal to submit inquiries, and that gets fed into the back office system that the staff are using. So yeah, in summary, we found DocuWare very, very beneficial. It really was a game changer for us. In terms of the software that I run in this business, I mean, we run a number of different vendor softwares, but this it's probably one of our most important systems. We really, really couldn't live without it, and it really did pay its dividends when COVID hit, because it's a web browser system. When people began working from home, we were able to give them access to that customer information almost instantly. So there's a small demo there, hopefully that covers a few nice points of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andrew. I think that what that shows really effectively is sort of a number of key areas, that how easily DocuWare can handle information from any source, whether it's emails, as Andrew mentioned, some people still use faxes, which is quite shocking, but it does. It can run scanners for you. There's all sorts of other ways we can input in there, and there's lots of areas we haven't shown you today, but it's really to give you a nice flavour of how this can be used in the real world, and that was really effective. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you.
So just to sort of underline what I'm saying there, I mean, DocuWare can be used as a backbone to streamline processes across any departments in the business, and can be used, as Andrew pointed out, in conjunction with your existing applications and IT stack. We're talking about things like incoming invoices, where we can automate the digitization and processing and archiving of all incoming invoices and remove those slow manual steps in finance. We can automate manual ad hoc ordering processes with e-forms and streamline workflows. We can talk about the mailroom, where we can digitize incoming mail for easy distribution and retrieval, or contract management, where we can keep on top of all those contracts coming into a business and give them automated retention policies, so you know a few months before it's up that it is up, so you can go and renegotiate. Or maybe employee records, an area which, especially during lockdown, because of access to physical documents, is really growing, and somewhere we're talking to a lot of our customers about. Here we can securely centralize all employee records and use e-forms and workflows for onboarding, reviews, and even more. So we can work across an organization, helping fix issues in all departments. Many of these areas I mentioned are covered in earlier webinars and resources. So if you want to look into them in a bit more detail, just please contact myself or Keith or your account manager, and we'll point you to where you can find these resources, and we can have a conversation about your own particular needs. So now, Keith, I'm going to hand back over to you, and if you could just take us through some of those key benefits of implementing a document management strategy, which our audience can take advantage of.
Yeah, sure. Thanks again, Ed. So yeah, so to start summarising what we've covered in the last half an hour, and some high-level benefits. So I think, looking at the paperless office, when we move to remove manual and remove physical documents out of a process, then we can really start to drive efficiency. If our digital first journey starts with a document management system at its core, then driving more efficiency becomes even easier. So that's really important. Let's start to remove the paper burden specifically from our processes and from the organisation. Every interaction is captured. So who saw it? What did they do with it? Did they send it off to somebody else or whatever? And this is something that is not achievable when you're looking at physical documents or using file stores and this kind of thing. And this makes auditing of systems around compliance extremely easy, because everything is there and everything can be reported on. So this makes compliance addition really easy. So everything that you build into the system becomes compliant. When you're looking, like Andrew was saying, they've got a lot of personal records there. So GDPR is really important, and you need to be able to show that you can work within the GDPR. And like I mentioned, sorry, losing my voice. Like I mentioned at the start, it mitigates any issues around natural disasters, because everything is managed in a centralized data center. Whether that be, like Andrew has it in Azure or using the DocuWare cloud, that it's such a high level of redundancy around documents that you can rest assured that data loss is almost impossible. So just on this last slide from me, I think, and just to finish up, just want to have a look at some of the challenges. Bobby, could you just advance that, or is it stuck? Oh no, brilliant. With a bit of a worry for a second there. so finally, let's look at some of the challenges. So with documents, in lots of different formats, held in lots of different locations, filing cabinets, Dropbox, and OneDrive. This becomes a challenge to really get your hands on the documents. But with document management system, it's centralized, it's stored, it's easy to access that information. Where there's manual processes, there's inefficiency, and this sucks up valuable time and is a distraction from the sort of day-to-day tasks that we all need to work towards. With DocuWare, this is solved. With ready-to-go workflows, with a workflow engine where you can build your own, like we saw from Andrew, we can ensure that your teams remain productive and effective. Security gaps where you have some digital, some in paper, some in a warehouse down the road. All this is removed for you with DocuWare. So we've got an auditable platform where every interaction is captured and is managed. And of course, at the end of the day, we want to improve our cost base. We want to make sure, certainly when things are delivered in the finance teams, it sort of stands out even more. But if you're managing payments coming in, if you're managing invoices coming in, that kind of thing, there's a real return on investment for these types of platforms. So that's from me. I think I'll hand back to John to close off the call and any Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith, and thanks Ed and Andrew for a really insightful session on DocuWare and the potential benefits, hopefully, for everyone who's listening on the call today. So please keep your questions coming. We've got a few coming in, so we will go on to the Q&A in a minute. But get in touch with any topics that you want to discuss further. You can look at the case study. Obviously, Andrew's from a customer perspective, which is always fantastic to hear how customers are using that. Obviously, you've got the latest insights and key topics and trends from the research. Download the ebook, and look out for some of the other webinars that will be up and coming. So I think what we will do is we'll move on to the into the Q&A. Let's have a look at what we've got on the questions. So appreciate those. We've got a few come in. What we'll kick off actually with one that's come in and which discusses, and I think this references the advantage of what is the advantage of DocuWare over SharePoint. But I think we could probably read lots of other document management systems for that. We do work a lot with Microsoft, so we're very aware and work on SharePoint and BI. So we do a lot of integration as well as work on Microsoft products. But maybe Andrew, it's a good one for you because you obviously went through the process of selecting a system, and I'm sure you looked at other options, and fantastic you chose DocuWare. But maybe share the reasons why that you chose DocuWare above some of the others.
Yeah, sure. So at the time when we looked at the tender, I didn't look at SharePoint, although since we've come on that journey, I'm much more familiar with SharePoint now than I was. But there's probably two answers to that question. One of them is ease of configuration. SharePoint is great, but you really have to invest a lot of time, money and effort to make it do the things that you want it to do. But we wanted a simple, cloud hosted, web accessible document management system. And with DocuWare, we got that out the box, almost from first week or two of installation, we had that. We didn't have to invest in a lot of developer time to make SharePoint kind of do the things we want. DocuWare just came with exactly the features we needed. I think the second part of that is the API integrations. Again, it was quite easy to have some of our software developers actually write integrations between our back office systems and our broker platforms to work with DocuWare. And knowing how SharePoint works, that would have been a lot more difficult for our developers to do, whereas the DocuWare API was quite simple to use.
Thanks, Andrew. That's good insight. I mean, maybe Ed, don't know if you want to comment with the other customers we've worked with.
I think Andrew summed that up really well about the ease of configuration and versus sometimes the expense involved in trying to get SharePoint to do things. But I think another key point to mention is that the DocuWare integrates beautifully with SharePoint. So if you use DocuWare to do what it's good at, which is the single point of a single point for where a document can be stored, the audit trail, and all those other benefits of document management, it can integrate beautifully in SharePoint and let SharePoint do the bits it's good at, which is the collaboration, all the tools around that. So just because you're utilizing SharePoint doesn't mean there isn't a place for a platform like DocuWare to fill in the gaps that might be missing from your SharePoint installation.
Right, and I think, I echo the customers that I've seen that, and again, it's the ability to have those APIs with which are simple from DocuWare, and then look at how you can use that with some of the other applications and integration to give you the system and process that you require. So thanks for that one. Another question come in, which is around that we're obviously, Rico is well known as a managed service provider around print and output. But in our opinion, what is the best way to extract data from paper into a content management system? Ed or Keith, maybe for you.
So is that really? Go on, Keith, you go first.
Yeah, I think that's quite a long. There's a lot of answers to that one, but I think first of all, take it back to understanding what information you need to extract from that document and why. And I think that's a really important place to start. Then you can have a look at the technologies that's available. So we're talking about DocuWare. So within DocuWare, we've got OCR technology. So when you scan a document in, we can extract all the information from that document. We can then build on that with an intelligence, so we can start looking at key parts of the document and intelligently bring that into the indexing fields to help retrieval. And then we've got other technologies, zonal OCR, barcoding, that kind of thing, to extract that information from the document. But I think there's lots of technologies out there, but I would always start with, why do I need this information? How will it add value? and then how, then now how do we get it out of the system? Bearing in mind as well that, like Andrew pointed to, there's lots of ways that we can use third-party applications to bring in that indexing information. So, if using the example of Alan Blunden, with a policy number, we can then look up a database and populate all the other fields. That can be a lot quicker than using an OCR engine as an example to do that sort of work. So, so start with the why are we doing it, what do we need to do it, and how do we want to retrieve that document again? And then look at the technologies to extract the information or enrich the data from very simple extraction. I don't know if that's answered it, but
I think, look, I don't think there's only one answer to that, but I think it's a good answer.
Not, yeah.
And I think it does depend. I think extracting the relevant information as efficiently as possible from the paper to be able to populate an index, automate some of the index processes, obviously, is key. But you're right. Well, why is it? What do you need and why? And then you can work through it. But I know it's a question that we will always be working on with customers when we're looking at scoping and then obviously putting DocuWare in as part of the design. So, okay, thanks, Keith. We've got one in terms of in regards to how is it licensed. So that's maybe we'll pick that first. There's a few parts to this question.
Yeah. Sure. So DocuWare comes in two varieties. You can have it on premise or you can have it in the cloud. At the moment, we're experiencing probably about 80% of what we're doing is a cloud-based version of DocuWare. I think there's two main reasons behind that. One is, of course, we're all in sort of a lockdown and the dispersed workforce, but I also think that people are much more comfortable than they were a few years ago about using cloud-based software, because we're all used to it on our phones. We've all realized that the data is as secure as you're going to have it in your own office and everything else. In terms of how it's licensed, we don't, like a lot of software out there, we do not charge according to click. It is all about just the people who are going to use that, you actually interact with the system, so the number of users and also the storage. That is the only way we license it. And we have various different kind of packages that we can sell, but we'd always sit with you and try and understand who's going to be doing what within the system, so we can make sure that you've got the right types of users, because there are cut down versions, user licenses as well as full licenses.
Okay, that's brilliant. I know we're probably coming up on time. We have got a lot of questions. We'll probably answer a couple more, and then if you've sent those in, we will come back to you. I've got quite a few here. I think just on single sign-on, is that available? So when you're logging in, ability to have single sign-on with DocuWare?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
On that, so I'm assuming that's a yes.
Quick answer. Yep.
And we'll have multi-factor sign-on as well in April, so you'll be able to do that as well.
Brilliant. Okay. And in terms of audit trails, how does the system cope with that and providing audit trails? Keith? Ed?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, you froze for a second.
Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, did I? Okay, sorry. So the audit trail is really comprehensive. So we capture everything that happens to a document once it's received within within the system. So it's all time and date stamped. It's all stamped with the user. So when they added it, when they opened it, when they looked at it, and what did they do with it. And next to that is also around the workflow. So, what steps did it take on the workflow? Who opened it? Who approved it? So you're not left wanting when it comes to the audit trail. I think that covers everything. I think, Andrew, you may be able to comment on that, because you're obviously the regulations around insurance is quite tight. So.
I mean, I think you've already covered it. Yeah, there is an extensive audit trail on every document that's in the system, and it's as simple as right-clicking on that document and click View History, and you will see, yeah, exactly as you said, when it was created, who accessed it, when, on what type of device. It really is quite extensive.
We also have an almost visual audit trail on every document as well, if you want, in that we can superimpose stamps upon the document to show as it goes through its journey, to kind of replicate the physical process of someone signing or stamping it. So not only do we have that kind of in-depth audit, you can also be very visual on the actual physical document itself. Good.
And the final one before we close, and we've got a few thank you for all the questions. We will come back to you because we can't get them all in before we finish. So final one, there's a few questions come up on about integration with Sage accounts software. So have we got, does it integrate, and have we got customers that use it with Sage?
I work expressly on the public sector and commercial team, so I work with a lot of SMB businesses out there. So Sage is one of the primary ERP systems we come across. I would suggest at the moment it's somewhere around about 40% of the discussions I'm having with accounts departments are linking to Sage. So we've got extensive experience of doing it. Sage has either in the cloud or on-premise, Sage has APIs that we can talk to. With the Sage 200, which is the most common variety of Sage out there, we have a really tight integration which involves being able to post all invoice data in there, be able to pull PO data out of Sage, things like that. And Sage 50 as well, they've just sort of developed their REST API in the cloud, which means we can do very similar things as well. So it's something we've got a lot of experience with, and I must admit, when I'm talking to new customers and they say they've got a Sage back end, I rub my hands together because I know it's going to work perfectly.
That's good. That's good. I think we'll as they're coming in, we'll just we'll have a last couple. I'm gonna use that phrase again. That's probably the last time we have the last couple of questions. But thanks for coming. Thanks for sending them in. We've got one in terms of is the solution easy to deploy, or will you need in-house IT expertise to kick-start it? So I mean, Andrew, you've experienced that. I think you commented on that. We helped you, but it was quite simple. It's the simplicity and ease of installation seem to be a good point for you.
Yeah, sure. So I think if you're looking, we host our own DocuWare on Azure virtual machines, and part of the reason we took that decision is because of FCA compliance. It gives us full control and ownership of our data. However, I mean, if you're looking at the completely cloud-hosted solution of DocuWare, I mean, there's obviously no setup on your part. The solution will be licensed for you and it will be available pretty quickly. In terms of if you're hosting it on premise, obviously there is a little bit more consultancy and planning needed. But I've got to admit that the Rico engineering team that worked with us, yeah, it was fairly simple. I think I would say, if you've got an in-house IT team, that does make it easier. And if you haven't, then I'm sure the Rico guys can get you set up in the way you need to be set up.
Excellent, that's good. And I think it is very important, in terms of getting that time to value and time to impact of something you put in. You want to see that quite quickly. You don't want to be taking months and years to get the return on the investment that you've made. So I think it's a really, really important point. I think we had another question around quite a few from people talking about finance and HR. So someone's question in regards to, is it possible to split in trays so that you can make some private for certain users? So for example, could we have a separate HR tray that can only be accessed by HR staff?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, you can, definitely. Every single user, so every document can have its own controls and its own access rights, so every document type, but every user, we can also set their own access rights and controls. If the user, we can also bring those controls and those groups and those user rights across from Active Directory as well. So it makes it very simple to do. So we don't have to set them all up within DocuWare. You can if you want to, but we can bring those groups and users across. So if HR wants to just be able to see their bit, that's all they will see. Accounts will just see their bit. Manager will be able to see everything if you want them to. Admin can see everything if you want them to. So it's really down to how you want to set it up. And this is the kind of stuff we do in Discovery. So it starts how you want it from day one.
Excellent. Okay, got one in terms of how are permissions maintained, and are you aware of any clients using this platform for online work instructions? Which I'm not sure on that one, Ed. I can see that's a thinking post.
Yeah, that is a little bit.
What about permissions maintained?
So I think this sort of follows on from the question earlier, that every document that comes in, we can set its own policy, about permissions for that document, right down at that granular level.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, what I would say, Steve, I know you're out there somewhere who've asked that questions on the platform for online work instruction. So get in touch, and we'll probably need to have a bit of a chat and just talk that one through with you. I think that's probably it from today. I think we've answered most of the questions. So thank you, everyone, on behalf of myself and Rico and the panel. Thank you very, very much for joining us today, and look out for the series. Get in touch if you need anything else, but thanks for your time today. Hopefully you got some insight and it was a valuable use of an hour, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.